Pacepa walked into the American Embassy in Bonn. Actually, it was located in Bad Godesberg. And the difference, now you go by an American Embassy, it's like a fortress, But then anyone could walk into the American Embassy, and he walked up to the second floor, to the political section, and walked into the office of one of our political officers, and, volunteered to defect. And for the next, 4 or 5 days, they negotiated, essentially because we had a
condition to defect.
Yeah, we had a person come from Munich who was a Romanian case officer, citizen, U.S. citizen, and he did the negotiation. So I used to do counter surveillance of these meetings, in a bar in Cologne. And until late in the night, gosh, I used to come home at 2, 3 in the morning every night. And then at the end of the week, we brought the Germans into it, the BFV. And what we decided to do was we got his clothes, and we got his wallet, and we got his identification and so on. And we were going to have this scenario where he was in a fight along the Rhine. And along the Rhine is kind of the red light district of, what the red light district of Cologne is. And so I was there with a friend of mine, and, we had this stuff, and then I was to call the police, and we, basically scattered his documents on the floor, and we threw his suit into the Rhine. And I called the police, and I said, well, there's a fight on here. My German's good enough so, they wouldn't know I was an American. And so then we just left. And Pacepa flew to the States. He then flew to the U.S., where he wrote a book. For all I know, he's still alive.
He's still alive?
I don't know. For all I know. Maybe he is and maybe he isn't. But at any rate, this was the scenario. And about a week later, a German journalist I knew called me up. He said, "Oh yeah, you got a big one last week, didn't you?" And I said, "Well, I don't know anything." But actually, it was in all the German press about a week later. And I presume that someone from the BFV, the MI5 of Germany, leaked it to the press. But that's how, essentially, I always say, I killed Pacepa. But of course it didn't happen. And he wrote a book, was fully debriefed, and I guess Ceausescu, as I understand, went crazy, because they were friends. They weren't just, he wasn't just like a subordinate, but as I understand it, Pacepa and his wife, they used to go over to the Ceausescu's for like dinner and drinks and so on and so forth. So he was much more than just a subordinate, and took it very, very personally. So at any rate, that's my one experience in sitting around a bar in Cologne for 5 nights until all hours of the morning, and then they carried on the negotiations. But I think the Romanian case officer he had was very good, and I remember talking to him. He was, had a full career with the agency, with CIA, and so on. So, at any rate, that's the Pacepa story.